The sadness and ordeal for Micaela Ortega's family began on April 23, 2016. On that day, the 12-year-old girl left her house, lured by a criminal who had deceived her by hiding behind a fake Facebook profile. She never returned. After the mandatory missing person report was filed, multiple searches and operations were conducted to find her, all with the same result: negative. The case quickly grabbed media attention. As days went by, the anguish grew. A month had passed, and the search continued aimlessly until the most unexpected thing happened. Micaela Ortega was born on August 4, 2003, in Bahia Blanca, a port city in the southwest of Buenos Aires province, Argentina. She was the beloved daughter of Monica and Claudio Ortega, who had previously welcomed Brian, her older brother. Micaela, affectionately known as Mica by her loved ones, brought immense joy to Monica and Claudio. She was the apple of her father's eye, and to her, he was like a hero. As it happens sometimes, Claudio and Monica decided to part ways, but they remained on friendly terms, ensuring that the kids always had their father's support and presence. While attending school, Micaela struck up a friendship with Ornella, the daughter of Guadalupe Albacete. Their bond solidified after a school trip. As they prepared for high school, a significant transition, both friends still viewed the world with the innocence of childhood. Micaela dreamt of becoming a veterinarian or a special education teacher, showing a deep love for animals and children with disabilities. She also had a natural ability to serve others, a trait that became evident when Ornella had to use a wheelchair after an operation. Micaela was always eager to help, bringing joy to challenging situations, often with jokes and laughter. She did everything with enthusiasm and was very expressive. However, as she approached her teens, Monica noticed changes in Micaela's personality. Her taste in music, language, and surprising demands, like wanting tattoos and going out alone, bewildered her. Despite their attempts to seek professional guidance from the school, Micaela's volatile temperament led to daily arguments over trivial matters, from breakfast choices to what she should wear. The best times were when Micaela's sweet nature shone through, warming her mother's heart. Claudio, her father, took her to and from school daily. At 12, she only hung out with a few school friends and occasionally with girls from her skating group. A defining trait of Micaela during this time was her strong will to be respected and valued. During the 2016 carnivals, she met Axel, and they started a sweet, innocent friendship. Claudio knew of him, but hadn't met him. Around the same time, Micaela received a strange friend request on a social network from someone posing as a young girl her age, who was actually a 26-year-old man named Jonathan Luna, born around 1990. Jonathan was sentenced for a serious theft and was locked up in General Roca prison. He was also under investigation for abuse charges. Despite being known as a dangerous man, the judge of the case authorized a temporary release for him in December 2014. Jonathan seized this opportunity to escape. From that point on, there was a warrant out for his arrest, but he was never found. After a while, Jonathan settled down in Bahia Blanca. He lived in a rather run-down house and started a relationship with Maria Eliana Espinoza, a Chilean woman in her 50s. While she worked as a domestic worker, Jonathan spent most of his day glued to his cell phone, browsing social media and idling away in bed. On a popular social network, he managed more than 4 accounts, posing as a woman. Collectively, He had more than 1,700 contacts, and 95% of them were girls Micaela's age. His preference for minors led him to form a face-to-face friendship with a 15-year-old neighbor who would visit his house to drink mate and chat. Even though he got along better with Maria, he frequently mentioned that he was in love with the teenager, brazenly stating his wish to have intimacy with her. Micaela, unaware of his true nature, started a virtual friendship with this sinister figure, thinking he was another girl her age. Using his charm, Jonathan slowly gained her trust. Around mid-April 2016, an argument with her mother persuaded Micaela to think about leaving home. When Jonathan found out, he saw the perfect chance to meet her. He convinced her that a cousin of his fake online friend could pick her up and bring her to his house. On Friday, April 22, 2016, after expressing her love to her mom, Micaela retreated to her bedroom. Unaware of the true situation and believing her daughter was asleep, Monica had no idea that Micaela was writing a farewell letter. In it, Micaela asked for forgiveness and urged her family not to look for her, explaining she was heading to a friend's house on Saturday morning. The next day, April 23rd, after leaving the letter on her bed next to a stuffed toy, Micaela prepared to leave. Micaela left with just her ID and a hair straightener in her bag. A neighbor spotted her walking alone around 4:15 a.m., and a teacher saw her a few streets down later. Not long after, security cameras captured Jonathan with the girl. It was later revealed that he walked her for about 6 miles to a remote and hard-to-reach area where he tried to abuse her. Micaela fought back with all her strength, which enraged her attacker. He then assaulted her violently, ultimately taking her life. Before fleeing, he stole his victim's belongings. Monica woke up, oblivious to the tragedy that had unfolded, but soon the harsh reality hit her as she realized her daughter was missing, filling her with unprecedented panic. Given Micaela's careful attention to her appearance, it didn't surprise Monica that the hair straightener was gone, but the absence of her ID was unusual since Micaela always left it at home. The letter, undoubtedly in her daughter's style, hinted at something more behind her disappearance. Monica sensed a connection to someone in her daughter's recent behavior, suggesting an older person was involved, possibly holding her against her will. Meanwhile, Jonathan returned home, disturbed and wet. When Maria asked what happened, he admitted to making a serious mistake. The parents immediately reported Micaela missing, prompting swift action from the authorities and community solidarity, with extensive searches and operations underway, yet none were successful. The case quickly captured media attention and public concern, while Monica, guided by a mother's intuition, believed her daughter hadn't left the city. Jonathan closely followed the news, demanding silence in the house to listen better, and even callously remarked that the young girl had brought her fate upon herself using insults. As days passed, the anguish grew, and the lack of resources for the search became apparent. At one point, they ran out of funds to make color copies of Micaela's photo for distribution. During this darkest time, Monica saw how some individuals went above and beyond, even using their own money to help find her daughter. 13 days after the disappearance, security camera footage emerged. Monica recognized her little girl with her pink backpack and Mickey Mouse sweater, and immediately dismissed the idea of her daughter's boyfriend being involved. The footage was quickly broadcast on TV, where Maria recognized Jonathan and confronted him, but his threats silenced her from contacting the authorities. In the same month, Micaela's mother received a call from a young girl pretending to be her daughter, claiming she was sick and needed money sent to her, promising to return home if she complied. Sensing the scam, Monica tracked down the address and confronted the minor's parents, who dismissed it as a harmless prank, adding frustration and despair to Monica's ordeal. The police, however, interviewed the young girl. Meanwhile, Micaela's mother tirelessly scoured her daughter's social media profiles, convinced that tracing her contacts and conversations was the key to finding her, but all efforts seemed fruitless. Jonathan tried to sell the hair straightener he had stolen from Micaela to a 15-year-old neighbor. As the search remained directionless a month later, Micaela's community and loved ones organized a candlelit march, praying for her safe return. Soon after, a woman advised Monica to seek help from a renowned dog handler specializing in search and rescue missions. Feeling this was the right approach, Monica planned to travel nearly 200 miles where he worked with the local police. By the third week of May, Monica decided to make the journey and request the dog handler's assistance. He, along with 2 colleagues and a bloodhound named Duke, joined the search. Their advanced techniques allowed them to track people after significant time had passed. Around the same time, crucial information was provided by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, a U.S.-based nonprofit organization combating sexual crimes against children and child exploitation. This led to the discovery of Jonathan's contact with Micaela and his criminal background. The dog handler and his dog examined Micaela's room, using a recently used Band-Aid and hair from her comb to get a scent trace, carefully preserved for the search. The bloodhound followed the trail from her house, leading to a bus stop captured on the first surveillance camera. After a break, the dog continued, tracing the path to a second location where Micaela was seen with an individual. This marked a significant moment for the team as Duke covered about 3 miles following the scent, and after resting, proceeded towards a railway area. As night began to fall, the search team decided to pause their efforts, planning to resume the next day. Meanwhile, investigators cross-referenced data and approached Maria, who willingly provided crucial information. This led to a search warrant for her home. The news that the key suspect in the disappearance lived locally angered neighbors, who attempted to set the house on fire, though it wasn't completely destroyed. Inside the house, police found the hair straightener, cell phones, and other items belonging to Micaela, which the search dog confirmed. Jonathan was arrested when he realized there was no escape and that the evidence against him was overwhelming. He confessed to the crime and revealed where he had hidden the body. On May 28, 2016, law enforcement, family members, the dog handler, and his dog Duke headed towards the indicated area, close to the train tracks. Duke led them about 10 kilometers, passing through abandoned train cars and waterlogged areas, and then into a field, reaching a bushy, grassy area near a gas company. Here, Duke indicated a specific spot. Despite some initial confusion due to Duke's erratic movements, including crossing barbed wire fences, the dog eventually led them to a very steep area and became very excited. The team followed, and there they discovered Micaela's lifeless body. Despite the grief, Monica was immensely grateful to the dog handler and Duke for bringing closure to their ordeal. While it was a grim reality, it ended the uncertainty that had plagued her. Micaela had been found, not as hoped, but now she could be laid to rest properly. Meanwhile, everyone in the city demanded life imprisonment for Jonathan as they awaited the preliminary autopsy report. Jonathan was transferred from the police station to the district attorney's office but refused to testify, causing a delay in the legal process. He was later moved to prison. The prosecutor had 15 days to file charges and request pre-trial detention due to the case's severity. On May 30th, 2016, Micaela was finally laid to rest. The funeral procession was attended by many, marked by tears for the loss and applause for the joy she brought during her short life. Her remains were buried in the municipal cemetery. Since then, her mother has led the charge on the case with remarkable determination. Jonathan was charged with homicide, including concealing attempted sexual abuse and aggravated theft, as well as premeditated murder and femicide. Additionally, the prosecutor included the crime of grooming or cyberbullying, defined in the Argentine Penal Code since November 2013 as using electronic communications to contact a minor for committing any sexual offense against them. Given the severity of the crimes, Jonathan could face life imprisonment. Due to social network privacy, authorities could only access Jonathan's interactions with Micaela, leading the prosecutor to suspect he might have tried to entrap other girls similarly. Monica actively sought tougher laws against cyberstalking and advocated for official preventive campaigns with national and provincial reach. In August 2016, just before Micaela's 13th birthday, she chained herself to the National Congress's doors to voice her demands and prevent similar tragedies. The protests gained support from different organizations, which had also been pushing for the criminalization of producing and distributing child sexual material online in Argentina. They emphasized the urgent need for awareness of the risks associated with internet use, highlighting the real individuals behind each screen and device, not all with good intentions. Monica's persistence paid off, and within 48 hours, she and the NGO members met with then Argentine Vice President. Meanwhile, Jonathan's defense lawyer indicated that he wouldn't seek acquittal but would challenge the legal framing of the charges. After over a year, the trial began in October 2017. On the first day, Jonathan arrived in the courtroom with a helmet, bulletproof vest, and escorted by 8 prison officers. He faced insults from the victim's family members, demanding he face them and vowing revenge. Monica tried to calm her relatives in a moment captured on video and shared on social media. She often looked up to the sky, took deep breaths, and stayed focused on Jonathan, who barely showed any reaction. Sitting before the judges, she was determined to provide the necessary information requested by the prosecution and defense. Her testimony was understandably the most emotional and challenging to hear, as she felt that not only had she lost her daughter, but her own life had been stolen. She also blamed the judge who had granted procedural benefits to Jonathan, believing this enabled his escape and subsequent crimes. After Monica's testimony, the defendant requested to leave the room until the closing arguments, amidst growing insults from the public gallery. Later, other family members, including Micaela's father, brother, teenage boyfriend, and the last 2 women who saw Micaela, answered questions. The court also reviewed documentary evidence, including the victim's clothing and belongings, and security camera footage. On the third day, the defense argued that the accused had suffered a head injury leading to cognitive function impairment. However, the medical professionals conducting the autopsy and the psychologists and psychiatrists who examined the accused provided strong evidence that he acted systematically and was fully aware of his actions. After a week of trial, the judges unanimously ruled that Jonathan Luna's actions against Micaela Ortega were triple aggravated homicide due to premeditation, gender violence, and concealing other crimes, as he failed to achieve his ultimate goal of committing a sexual offense, alongside charges of sexual harassment, cyberstalking, and theft. Consequently, Jonathan was sentenced to life imprisonment, marking the first case of grooming leading to murder in Argentina. As a repeat offender, he would not be eligible for parole for 35 years. The verdict was met with cheers in the courtroom. Outside, a visibly distressed Monica gave her first statements to the press. Her dedicated fight gave her the strength to face daily life and find meaning in her grief. For Claudio, however, as he expressed, while the verdict brought some solace during the 2017 Christmas celebrations, the outcome was bittersweet. Subsequently, the consumption of anxiolytics was made mandatory for him to cope with the tragedy. Thanks to Monica's efforts in 2020, the Ortega law was enacted, establishing a national program for the prevention and awareness of grooming or cyberbullying against girls, boys, and adolescents. Its aim is to prevent, raise awareness, and generate consciousness in the population about this issue through the responsible use of information and communication technologies, as well as the training of the community. However, 2 years later, the case made headlines again when it was revealed that in August 2022, Jonathan appeared in the legal case as Joanna. Jonathan stated that he perceived himself as a woman and has since called himself Joanna. Based on this, he was transferred, not to a women's prison, but to a transgender pavilion. While acknowledging that self-perception is indeed a personal decision, the Ortega family's lawyer expressed that neither she nor Monica were informed about what was happening with the man who took Micaela's life. Regarding the possibility of Jonathan receiving a reduced sentence if it's proven he identified as a woman at the time of the incident, the lawyer doesn't believe it's likely to succeed. She mentioned that despite undergoing various therapies and evaluations, the accused never expressed anything about his gender identity. This raised suspicions among their clients, especially Monica. They demanded to know what kind of exams were conducted, how the case was framed, and what it was based on. In front of the cameras, Monica was more direct. She expressed feeling terrible, not just for losing her daughter, but also feeling deceived by the justice system. At that point, her determination to educate more people, especially parents and children, about cyberbullying became stronger than ever. In May 2023, Jonathan formally requested to be transferred to a women's pavilion. Shortly after, another irregularity involving Jonathan surfaced. Monica publicly reported that Jonathan had a cell phone in the prison he was housed in. This information about the dangerous inmate's privileges was shared through a fake social media profile, showing not just photos but also mentioning his social media accounts and ongoing use of the phone for scams. Following Monica's complaint through her lawyer, authorities analyzed the photos and confirmed that the signal originated from inside the prison, proving that the images were real, and indeed, Jonathan had a cell phone. In mid-2023, the Supreme Court declared a complaint filed by the subject's public defender inadmissible, thereby confirming Jonathan's life sentence. In media conversations, Monica mentioned that seeing so many photos of her daughter at home helps ease, even if momentarily, the unbearable pain of her absence. She believes that every change achieved over the years, every discussion, and every legislative progress owes itself to Micaela, and it's for her that she continues to stand strong. According to Monica, Micaela was a fighter who stood her ground till the end, which is why Monica wants to follow in her footsteps. She only wishes to see her again someday and hopes that her absence won't be in vain. Until that moment comes, she's convinced that behind a star, her daughter is watching over her. Well, dear viewer, that concludes today's Unreal True Crime. Once again, I remind you to subscribe and leave a like to let me know you enjoyed my work. Good night, until next time.